What would you do with the dead animals, Jeff?
Take them back in the woods, skin them sometimes, slit them all the way open, look at the organs, feel them.
Can you describe what you were thinking?
It was just mystifying to me how the insides of the animal looked.
Silence. For an ordinary person, silence is a peaceful moment to wash away the exhaustion of the day. But for someone whose mind has mutated in a diseased way, silence is an empty canvas, a massive, echoing void that must be filled, dominated, and controlled at all costs. Welcome to Abyssos. Today, we step into the world of one of the darkest minds in history, Jeffrey Dahmer. His story is not the bloodlust of an ordinary killer. This story is the anatomy of how the absolute fear of loneliness turns into a sick museum made of flesh and bone. Murder documentaries will tell you what he did, how many people he killed, how he hid them, what the police found in that apartment. But we are going to talk about why he did it. How does a human mind convince itself to dismember, melt, and consume its own kind? It all started on the side of those desolate Ohio highways. Young Jeffrey, while riding his bike, would find crushed, decaying animal corpses by the side of the road. While other children ran away in disgust, he would get off his bike and watch them for hours. The motionless, obedient nature of death fascinated him. He took those animals to his backyard deep into the woods. With boxes of acid, chemical solvents, and jars, he built himself a small, secret laboratory. He separated the flesh from the bone. He cleaned the bones until they were pure white. This was not the innocent biology curiosity of a child. This was his greatest, sickest discovery in the world. Everything that was alive would leave. People abandon you, animals run away, flowers rot. But if you purified that body with the right chemicals, that white bone left behind would stay with you forever. Death was the only perfect seal that stopped separation and froze time. Dahmer escaped from his constantly fighting parents, from his mother suffering severe psychological breakdowns, and from his ghost-like existence in that suffocating house. Just like this, he began to build a silent kingdom of his own creation, where no one could ever abandon him. As he reached the end of his high school years, the final blow came that caused that dark seed in his mind to completely crack open. His parents divorced. His mother took his little brother and left the house. His father was already nowhere to be found. Dahmer was left all alone in that massive house for weeks, in a period when a teenager is most vulnerable. The world had given him the cruelest message: no one cares about you, and sooner or later, everyone will leave you. He committed his first murder, Stephen Hicks, in that house. In the middle of that abandonment, he picked him up in his car, brought him home. They drank together, listened to music for the first time in his life because someone was accompanying him. Dahmer felt that momentary, fake peace. But when Stephen wanted to leave, when he headed for the door, that massive panic button in Dahmer's mind was triggered, leaving in his universe. That was the ultimate betrayal. Striking him from behind and killing him was not a sadistic fit of rage. It was that savage, primitive reaction of a child having his favorite toy taken away. He could not let him go. Murder, in his mind, was the only practical way to keep the victim in that room. Years later, when he moved into that horrifying apartment 213 in the Oxford Apartments, that little boy had completely turned into a hunting predator. He went to bars at night, inviting men he set his eyes on back to his apartment. You think his goal was just to create brutality? No, that dark pit in his mind wanted to be fed not with blood, but with absolute belonging. He loved the person in front of him for that moment. He wanted to touch him, but that person breathing with their own free will, thinking, and worst of all, waking up in the morning and wanting to walk out the door, triggered that abandonment trauma in Dahmer's mind. When he put his victims to sleep with heavy sleeping pills mixed into their drinks, that freezing silence in the room began again, and one of the most perverse rituals in criminal history was set into motion. Dahmer would take a drill and drill a millimeter-precise hole into the skull of his unconscious victim. He would inject boiling water or acid inside with a syringe. He was not a blood-spilling killer. He was a pathetic and failed surgeon playing his own twisted version of a god. He had studied medical books and decided to destroy the frontal lobe of the human brain, the center that holds free will, character, and the ability to make decisions. He was trying to create a perfect partner, one that breathes, has open eyes, a beating heart, but can never think, never object. He was designing mindless angels for his own dark paradise. He called this the Zombie Project, a human being trying to melt away another person's identity with acid just to escape his own loneliness. This act is the bloodiest proof of how destructive the void inside a human being can be. But the rules of biology are ruthless. The human body did not submit to this diseased design. The victims either took their last breaths on that table or woke up covered in blood trying to escape that hell. As his experiments failed, Dahmer's desperation turned into a massive obsession. If he couldn't possess them by keeping their bodies alive, he would physically, completely integrate them into his own existence. This is the exact borderline where humanity completely ends: consumption. When Dahmer dismembered and ate the flesh of his victims, this was not a simple cannibalistic urge. This was the ultimate point of that twisted love language in his mind. How can you escape from someone who eats you? He believed that when the flesh mixed with his own blood, his own cells, the soul of his victim would live inside him forever. This act, in his mind, was not to destroy the victim. It was to immortalize them forever and trap them within himself. A digested victim can never abandon you, and the remains, the bones and the skulls, he cleaned them with acid and painted them in his closet, inside his own home. He built a shrine out of them while looking at those skulls and talking to them. He felt more crowded and safer than ever before in his life. A family he created with his own hands, where no one judged him. A silent and bloody family. When the police opened the door of apartment 213, on that hot July night in 1991. They did just find a murder scene. That heavy chemical smell hanging in the air was the smell of rotting flesh and the absolute loneliness of a human being. The melting bodies in the blue barrel, the remains in the refrigerator, and those carefully cleaned skulls in the closet. That was not a home. That was the dark museum made of silent bones that Jeffrey Dahmer built with his own hands just so he wouldn't be abandoned. Remember his blank stares in the interrogation room, that calm tone of voice. He showed no sign of excitement or anger in front of the camera because in his mind, he was not a monster. He was just a tired man who tried every possible way not to be alone, but failed. He had internalized his own hell so much that the moral rules of the outside world could never penetrate his thick skull. His soul had already died when he was left all alone in that childhood home. The police merely arrested his biological remains. Every day, we walk past hundreds of people on the streets. We smile at each other on buses, on subways. We can never know what shrines someone is building inside their mind, what bones they are hiding to cope with their own loneliness. Every act we call inhuman is actually a poisonous fruit of those most primitive fears inside a human being, of lovelessness. And that freezing void, Jeffrey Dahmer tried to fill his own void with the bodies of others, but he forgot one thing: you cannot illuminate a darkness with another darkness. You only make the abyss even deeper. And if you gaze into that abyss long enough, eventually you become the abyss itself. Some people are afraid of being alone. Others, to avoid being alone, turn into monsters.
Oldest sister of Errol Lindsay, whatever your name is, say, I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you, motherfucker. I hate you. This is out of control. Don't fuck with me, Jeffrey. I'll kill you. God damn it. Look at me, motherfucker. I kill you.
What's your name, man?
Let me kill you.
Always keep your eyes on the dark.